March 1990. Still in Iceland. Still in the Air Force. Obviously, that's why I'm in Iceland. And I read a lot of books in March. Don't know why, but I did. So let's just dig in and we'll get to my semi-Icelandic anecdote shortly. So the first thing I read in March of 1990 is Darkfall by Dinar Koontz. And I guess appropriate for Iceland, because they get snow there. There's a blizzard, There's a blizzard in this city, and people are dying, and there are creatures out there killing people. How are you going to survive? I don't remember much about this, except that, if I remember correctly, I got sort of a Lovecraftian Cthulhu mythos kind of feeling from it. This cosmic horror, maybe, feeling. Not sure that's the best way to describe it. I could be thinking of the wrong book, but that's my recollection. I do recall enjoying this one. Next up, Twilight Eyes by Dean R. Koontz. He's got an R sometimes. And this one features the main character is Slim McKenzie. He's a psychic. His premonitions. He also sees monsters. Horror ensues. I don't remember too much about this one. So, we started off with a couple Dean Koontz. That's going to lead into my anecdote type of thing. While I was up in Iceland at the PX, there was a little book section, and they had a lot of Dean Koontz, which is why I was buying and reading a lot of Dean Koontz at the time. One of the Dean Koontz books I read while I was in Iceland, I don't know specifically, it was one of these, or one that I read in February. I got to the end of the book, and the last, let's say, I don't remember the exact number, but basically the last 30 pages weren't the last 30 pages. They were just 30 pages from earlier in the book. So I did not have the end of the book. I had to call back to the United States, called my mother, and asked her if she could find a copy of whichever book it was and send it to me so that I could read the end and find out how the book ended. Now, I've actually had quite a few books, relatively speaking, that were like this. I've had some that had, like, pages swapped, where pages 30 through 40 were at the end of the book, and pages 210 through 220 were where pages 30 through 40 should have been. Things like that. White Wolf Publishing actually had a big problem with this back in the day when I was buying a lot of World of Darkness books. I had a reprint of an old Superman novel that had the same issue. So it's something that happens, but yeah, I went a little nuts. Again, relatively speaking, because I got to the last 30 pages of a book and had to wait months before I could finish it. Which, gets into your head. Anyway, so that's something that happened while I was in Iceland. It has nothing to do with Iceland, but it happened while I was there. All right, let's move on to book 3, which is called Labyrinths of Reason by William Poundstone. And this is a nonfiction book. I really loved it. I think I've read it more than once. I'd like to read it again. And it's about thinking, as I recall. And I remember there was a section that had like some brain teasers, puzzles and things that sort of illustrate how you need to change how you think to come up with the answer. It seems straightforward, but you're never going to reach the solution that way. You have to change what your brain is doing to come up with a solution. And then the rest of the book is just, again, about how we think, how it affects the world, just different stuff. Very, very interesting stuff to me. So, and it's available on Amazon. I looked it up. Yeah, definitely one that I'd like to read again. Very, very interesting book. Next up, Cowboy, Fangs, Space Bar, and Grill by Stephen Brust. if that's how you say his name. And this is Cowboy Fangs Space Bar and Grill. Has, according to the description I read, has the best matzo ball soup and the greatest musicians, and it moves. It just shifts around in space. I can't remember if it's time as well. And there's something that's destroying whole planets, and Cowboy Fang might be the last hope for humanity. Lighthearted science fiction fantasy type stuff. I think leaning more towards science fiction. Don't know how much fantasy there is. Let's turn the page and get to the next book, which is Pale Kings and Princes by Robert B. Parker. It's a Spencer novel. It's good stuff. It's one that's been in these videos before. There's a young hotshot reporter looking into the cocaine trade, goes to this small town that's some people refer to as the Miami of the North because it's the hub of cocaine. He's murdered. Spencer has to figure it out. It's a Robert B. Parker book about Spencer. It's going to be good. Next, we have The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. This is the first Philip Marlowe novel. It is classic private detective noir. So this dying millionaire hires Marlowe to investigate the fact that one of his daughters is being blackmailed, and it leads into extortion and pornography and all the crazy things that happened in Hollywood, apparently, back in the day. It's Philip Marlowe, one of my favorite private detectives. Classic stuff. Then we have The Bad Place by Dean R. Koontz. And, okay, let me see. Do I have notes about this? Apparently not. I recall liking this, but I also believe this is where my fandom for Dean Koontz started to take a nosedive. I think it was after this one that I started to feel like he was just repeating himself. I think the book that came out right after this just felt to me like he was rehashing this. And of course, The Bad Place, if I remember, is death. I think. It's been a long time since I've read it. But it was good. It was, again, a Dean Koontz that I enjoyed. Next, Mr. Majestic by Elmore Leonard. This might hurt a lot of people. Well, first of all, this is about a watermelon farmer who loses everything to the mob, and it's revenge. It's a revenge tale. So now this might hurt a lot of people. I was not impressed with this. This might be the only Elmore Leonard that I have read, because it didn't do anything for me. I didn't dig the writing style, and just wasn't enough to get me to go back and ever read Elmore Leonard. So I apologize to any diehard Elmore Leonard fans out there who have been wounded by my assessment of this book. Next, Taming a Seahorse by Robert B. Parker, another one that has been on this list multiple times. This is the second April Kyle story. At the end of the first one that I can't think of the name of off the top of my head, Spencer lets April Kyle go to work with this high-class madam in Boston. At the beginning of this, that madam calls up Spencer, says April Kyle's gone missing, and he's got to find her again. And it's a good one. I like the April Kyle books, stories. They're Spencer books. Let's see, what else do we have? When Do Fish Sleep by David Feldman. This is just sort of a trivia kind of book. It's imponderables is what they call it, with questions like, when do fish sleep? Why don't birds fall off of power lines when they go to sleep? Why is yawning contagious? Just all these questions, and Mr. Feldman tries to provide answers. Fun. Just a fun little book. Next up, Myth, Inc. Link by Robert Asprin. And that's M.Y.T.H. Myth, Inc. Link. And that's Inc. as in incorporated. So Skeeve, our main character in these myth books, has formed Myth Inc., and this book is the stories of the different employees that work there, I guess. It's lighthearted, funny fantasy stuff. It's not a bad series. Then we have All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten by Robert Fulghum. And this is, it's a classic, I guess. It's just, hey, these are the things I was taught in kindergarten. This is how you apply them to life. What else do you need to know? It's all there in the title. I'm not saying what else do you need to know. I'm saying the book says, what else do you need to know except what you learned in kindergarten? Again, a fun, interesting read. A little nonfiction. Then we have the one book that I actually have in my collection, but it is buried, so I did not dig it out to show you, but it's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, the funniest book I have ever read. Arthur Dent, Ford Prefect. Do I need to tell people what it's about? Arthur Dent is a human. Ford Prefect is his friend. He doesn't realize that Ford is an alien. And the Vogons, somebody's coming to destroy the Earth because it's in the way of an intergalactic highway. And Ford grabs Arthur Dent and they go off on crazy space adventures. Absolutely hilarious book. The beginning of a 5-part trilogy. Are there 5 parts? I know there's at least 4, plus sort of a novella. Yeah, but if you like science fiction, if you like to laugh, absolutely hilarious book. And then finally, the last book that I read in March of 1990, Playmates by Robert B. Parker, another one that's been on this list before. And this is Spencer is called to college because one of the star players is suspected of points shaving, and he's got to investigate and figure out what's going on, why this player may or may not be shaving points. And it's a good one. I like this one a lot. Even though, did I say basketball is what we're talking about? I'm not a huge basketball fan in general. Love playing sports. Not big on watching professional sports. But I dug this one a lot. I mean, it's a Spencer book by Robert B. Parker. So there you have it. Actually, that's it. That was the last book that I read in March of 1990. Let's see. I want a question for this video. So let's go with, do you like detective fiction? Do you like mysteries? If so, do you have a favorite private detective? Do you have a favorite mystery author? Because I got Robert B. Parker, I got Elmore, Leonard. That's kind of it for the mysteries, but that's the question I've got for you. Do you enjoy them? I am a fan, obviously. I love Sherlock Holmes. I've got a big stack of Sherlock Holmes recent fiction up there and over there. I mean, you can't see any of this stuff. I've got most of the original Arthur Conan Doyle stuff. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I have a particular set, and I'm missing 2 books in that particular set. I've got some more Sherlock Holmes over there. I've got my Robert B. Parker books up there. I've got, you know what, I'm not going to count crime novels like the Parker books by Richard Stark. I think that's a different sort of genre, or at least a subgenre. But yeah, I'm a big fan. And as I said, I love Philip Marlowe. I've got my Elvis Cole by Robert Crace over there. Maybe we can include some Greg Rucka. His Atticus Kodiak isn't really he's not a private detective. He's a security specialist. But he does end up, at least in the earlier books, having to solve things, figure things out. He's that type of character. I'd probably have to say Spencer is my favorite private detective. The Robert B. Parker books are just so good. And Spencer is such a great character. As much as I love Philip Marlowe and Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett with his Continental Detective, I believe, and Sam Spade, of course, That's classics. I just recently read the first Easy Rawlins book, which was fantastic. But, and if you followed this list, you've seen I've read cozy mysteries. We're going to see a lot of mysteries coming up. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Spencer for favorite detective. I do like magical detectives as well. But I don't know if that falls into urban fantasy, if I should keep this. We're going to keep that sort of thing out of this for now. So we'll stick with the real world type of thing. Spencer, definitely favorite character. Favorite author of mysteries. Ooh. Oh no. Wow, things just got real. I just glanced over. Joe Lansdale, Hap and Leonard. They do eventually become private detectives. Ish. Wow. Ooh, man. That changes things. I absolutely love Joe Lansdale, one of my top 5 authors of all time. I absolutely love Hap and Leonard. I may have to make this a tie. I hate to unseat Spencer and Robert B. Parker, but maybe I can say because Hap and Leonard don't start out as private detectives. Ooh, I don't know. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that. So, do you like mysteries? Do you have a favorite private detective? Do you have a favorite mystery writer? And should I count Joe Lansdale and Hap and Leonard in this discussion, in which case they may unseat Spencer and Robert B. Parker? All right, so if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comics, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I've got for you. Yeah, that's it. So until next time, read more books.